Welcome to the Fundamentals series. The goal of these videos is to help those of you who are learning guitar, who are trying to improve your ability to play guitar. I'm going to be addressing some of the most common issues that I'm asked about in lessons when I'm teaching my private students, and also some issues that I myself had to deal with when I was still learning. The one I want to talk about right now is switching from chord to chord. Those of you who are strumming chords may find it difficult to switch from one to the next, and that's probably the most common complaint and frustration that beginners have, even some that are approaching intermediate stages. Certain chords just don't lay very well in the hands. Your fingers may have a little bit of a hard time getting from one chord shape to another chord shape without having to stumble a little bit, having to stop and take some time. So what I'm going to do is tell you how to practice in order to solve that problem. The first thing you want to do when you're going to try to work out that problem is get your hand positioned in one of the two chords that you're going to practice going between. Let's say in this case we're going to do a D chord, okay, D major. You can see this is the D major that everybody always uses. I've got 2nd fret of the 3rd string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and 2nd fret of the 1st string. Okay, this is an A, a D, and an F sharp, along with the open D string. Okay, now we're going to switch to a G major, which is this one. Okay, now see I've got the 3rd fret of the 6th string, I've got the 2nd fret of the 5th, and the 3rd fret of string 1. And you can see that is the same version of the G major chord that you'll find in pretty much any method book. Okay? So switching between these two chords, the first thing you want to do is position your fingers into one of them, however you've got to do it. Take your time, use 2 hands, whatever you have to do. Get yourself in position. The first thing you're going to do is stop pushing down. Don't take your fingers off. You don't want to release the chord. You want to leave your fingers there, but just, stop pushing so that when you strum, it's just dead string. I'm still in the shape of the chord. That's very important. What you want to do, you want to teach your hand to release the chord in such a way that you don't bounce away from the string. You want to just stop pushing down, because the next thing you're going to do is just sort of glide across the top of the strings to the next chord shape. Okay? Now what that means is you're going to go very carefully, very slowly, and very relaxed to the next shape. You're not going to move one finger, place it, and then place another finger, and then place another finger. You're going to place all of the fingers at exactly the same time. So, for example, my pinky, to go from a D to a G, my pinky is just going to drop into place on this 3rd fret. Doesn't have very far to go. My middle finger has to go all the way from the 1st string way up here to the 6th string. So what I'm going to do is sort of gradually move that middle finger up there, and as I'm moving the middle finger, I'm also carefully placing the pinky, and while I'm doing both of those, I'm also moving my index finger, which has to go to the 5th string. So I'm moving everything at once. I'm going to do this. Let me zoom in for you there. So here's my D. Okay, now I'm going to very carefully, slowly, gradually move all my fingers to the next shape. And notice I didn't let go and then start placing fingers. Okay, that's the wrong way to do it. Every time you do that, you are reinforcing the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay? Don't move one finger at a time. You've got to move all of them at once. It has to be like it's one mechanism, and that you can't help but move them all at the same time. However slow you have to go to control them, that's how fast you go. Okay? That's important. And stay relaxed. So I'm going to carefully move all my fingers at once. Once I've got them in place, then and only then am I going to push down. Don't press anything until everything is in place. That's very important. Okay? What we're doing here is we're programming muscle memory. All right? Anything that you do quickly when playing a musical instrument, it's muscle memory. Okay? And that comes from 2 things. It comes from repetition. Okay? It's something you've done 1,000 times, it's going to just be second nature. But why do it 1,000 times when you only really need to do it 50 times? So the difference here is if you stumble and struggle and you trip over yourself and you just try again and again and again and again, eventually, after maybe 1,000 times, yeah, you're going to have it programmed in. But if you just be careful, in the beginning, you go from one chord very slowly and very carefully to the next chord. You heard that old adage that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Well, then don't take any detours when you move from one chord to the next. I want my middle finger to go straight from here to here. Nowhere in between. I'm not going to let it come away from the strings and then work its way around. I'm not going to let it kind of hover there for a few seconds while I place my other fingers and then eventually move that finger. I'm going to move everything directly from position 1 to position 2. Position 1 to position 2 at exactly the same time though, okay? Okay, that's the key. And it doesn't matter what chords you're switching between. So, the way you practice, there are 4 steps. The first thing you're going to do is release the pressure on the first chord. Just stop pushing down. Don't remove your fingers. Leave them there. Just don't push down anymore. The next step is you're going to slowly, carefully glide your fingers, and they're going to gradually morph into the next chord shape, and by the time your fingers arrive, they should all be in position for the next chord, and we still haven't pressed down yet. The next step is to press down, all at the same time, okay? And in fact, when you press, that's exactly the same time that you attack with the other hand, okay? So you don't want it to be press and then strum. You don't want those to be 2 separate things. You want it to be one motion, okay? So in one motion you're going to do that, and then the 4th step is simply to reverse and go back to the other chord. And the first thing, of course, is to release the pressure, but don't take your fingers off the strings, just like before, okay? They're still there. They're just not pushing down. So then I'm going to reverse it, and I'm going to gradually move to the next chord, okay? Once they're in place, then I'll push them down and strum. Release, gradually move back, push them down and strum, okay? That's what you want to do, because any extra motion, any extra muscle tension, anything that you add in between them as you practice switching, you're practicing taking too much time. And that's what we're trying to get rid of, okay? So practice that very carefully. I hope that's helpful, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks.